Uh, okay, so I thought I signed up for the dashboard designer for $20 a month, but I didn't, and somehow I signed up for the $80 a month, and I had intended to I intended to be the reseller, right? And so I'd be under my umbrella. I'd log in as me, and then I would go and say, okay, Pete Brannigan, real estate, and I'd be able to go to his dashboard. And all that seems to be working, except that when I go to look at his data, it's not his data. The workspace that Pam is working in is somehow not connected to the Pete Brannigan workspace that I'm
let me walk you through what happened there, right? With the umbrella organization, we actually ran into some issues.
Oh,
right? Right. So what we did was we split Pam off. Now, tonight, multi-site logins are coming tonight. And I know it sounds stupid, and it was really dumb to me.
It's okay.
Yeah. Well, it was dumb to me. When I asked the guys about it, I was like, what? So it was actually a little coding, but tonight, so let's say Monday, because you know it'll probably be messed up tomorrow, unfortunately. Right? I'll test it with them again tomorrow. It worked in dev. They'll put it in tonight. Tomorrow we'll test it, and it won't work. Invariable. So, but what's going to happen is you'll be able to be assigned as a user in any site. So that will separate it out.
Okay.
Right? And it'll be the same thing. So when you log in and you hit the drop-down for my organizations, right, here, let me go back. I actually can't do it as me, but I'll show you. Let me do this. When you go here and you log in, right here is my organization. Now, since I'm in as me, actually, you'll never see it because I have all kinds of advanced privileges, whatever. But it'll say my organizations. When you drop that down, you'll see every organization you've been assigned to. It'll look fundamentally the same, right? Now, when you go into those organizations like this here, I'm in right here. Let me actually go over here. This one's going to be a little bit better. Let's go into sample construction. Right? Now, this is the sample construction file. When you go into the organization, come into the corner here. Right? Weird. Let me go into sample consulting because I'm not happy about something. Stop picking up who I am here. I've been breaking this site pretty regularly, though. See? Come here to Dashboard Designer. Now, this is the mother load right here. And this is one that you're going to have some fun with. Now, when you log into this, you will get the, there's a couple other things we're going to do for you. You'll get this. This is the Dashboard Designer. This is the build your own. Anything you need to do is right here.
That's
right?
What I need.
And,
okay, yeah.
Yes, right. And I need to spend just a little time with you to help you get up to speed so you understand building reports, KPIs, dashboards, right? So this is right here is an actual scorecard. So these are KPIs. This is an actual PO agent. So when you look at this, right, what we did was we built some basic dashboards, which we're just going to put on your site so you can play with these.
Okay.
This financial, oh yeah, you guys are going to get a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't get.
Thank you.
A ton of stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all. We want you to be happy. You're one of the first, so you guys will get stuff that I just won't do for other people. Kev has already said no. So, and but financial performance here. Notice there's 5 tabs here, right? So this is a ratio tab. This is already built. Once you can just put this out there, and what this will do is this gives you a simple percent of revenue here, right? Some balance sheet ratios, some basic stuff. Some return calculations, right? People like to look at this. This is just designed to be eye candy, but it helps with the client. Some percent of revenue things. So these are tied. So when I click on gross margin here, you can see everything update, right? And what you see here is a bar graph for the year, right? So this is going over the year because this is in December. If I change this to November, this changes, right? But this tells me as a percent of revenue, cost of goods sold, what am I? I'm in gross margin. So gross margin in October was 76%. March, it stunk, right? We might want to take a look at that. Down here is a year-over-year comparison. See this? This is the current year. Now, this is a sample file, but this would be last year. And this goes back, I believe, 5 years. So you'll see lines for each of the 5 years. Here's a year-to-date comparison. So you can see year-to-date how you've done year-over-year, right? And then there's, debt to equity, current ratio stuff. But this right here is designed to give your client sort of a base, and then you can take this yourself and tweak it because you have the dashboard design.
That's what we need. Yeah.
You can just open this up and say, you know what? I don't want this here, right? Actually, I didn't mean to click that. I don't want this here. I want to change what the percent of revenue is. I want to put a chart there. Now check this out. If I click on these titles, right, I actually have filters buried in here. So I can come out here and say, I want to look at by transaction type, or I want to look at it by class, which is usually what people would do. So I'll come in here and I'll say, I want to look at Jonathan Graham, and everything updates for Jonathan Graham except the balance sheet ratios, which would make no sense, right?
Okay.
So, and then as you go through, you'll see everything sort of tweak. Here's Jonathan Graham. He had a bad December, right? That's a bad. I'm not sure what. Right, net income wise, he had a bad December, but it's very helpful. Yeah, he lost 140% of what he sold. That's really bad. His SG&A was 204%. What was this guy doing? So now this is here, and then
smoking his own weed.
You might have been. This could be a Colorado company, right? Now, we're going to go into the income statement, and I'll show you this. Now, this is actually really slick because there's some stuff here some people may not pick up on right away. So I'm going to take the class back to all because it's a little easier, right? But all you have to do is you can bury stuff like this. Now, there's some hints to it. If you try to do this with charts, it does bad things in Chrome. Bad things. You'll see it when you do it in the dashboard designer. I'll show you how to set all that stuff, and it'll do bad things. But, there's customer stuff out here, and there's vendor stuff out here. So you could have some fun. But what I wanted to show you was this. Notice revenue is less than the previous month. It's down 20%. It's yellow, right? You can configure these because you have the dashboard designer. You can change these percentages. If you do nothing else, you can just change them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Notice cost of goods sold is above what it was the previous month. It, too, is yellow. So the variances here are aware, which is really important because in QuickBooks, they're not aware.
Right.
Yep. So these are all aware. So EBITDA is down, and that's negative. SG&A is up, and that's negative, right? Normally that would be, green because you got to choose one way or the other, right? So there's a lot of fun stuff here. And then, of course, you've got rolling 12 months, rolling 4 quarters. The idea here is you take this, you hand it straight to your clients, right?
Yeah.
Just give it to them, right?
Say, here's
and
what I can do. Give me your data and X amount per month.
Right, and let's tweak it, right? And then what we'll do for you is we'll give you a separate, we're going to give you a completely separate site that we're going to call like CEO Services Test, so you can load any one of a number of these files here. I'll show you how, and even if you want, I'll give them to you. I have them right here. Like I have these. Now you got to be careful because this is crazy. It's going to sound stupid, really stupid. But see these sample files?
Okay.
These are the sample consulting, sample contractor files from QuickBooks 2010. Because of the way they do the dates, it breaks everything we do in the sync process. So you have to use certain ones. But what I do is I install it, I copy them off, and then I delete it. I uninstall it because 2010 is no longer supported. But I'll send you the files. If you open them in 13, it'll just update them. And then what you can do, and we'll help you do this too, is you can point to this. So if you're going to go talk to a client who's a construction client, you would install the sample consultant or a sample contractor-based business, right? Mm-hmm. And all of these would automatically update, right? Everything here. Now, when you come back here and look at the sample construction file here, you'll see there's a project management dashboard. Now, we built this, and this is actually just coming out now, right? And I'm going to show you a couple other fun things we're going to put out there for you because this is just gratis because we want you to have some fun. First thing you'll notice here is this is all the projects. And you'll see estimates here, right? We have an estimate module right there, and I'll walk you through that. This is very cool. Your clients are going to love this, right? So estimated cost, estimated profit, you've got a budgeted gross margin. Notice that we're below what we budgeted at. Even though we're well above on profit, We're below our gross margin percent. Kind of interesting, right? You might want to know that. Maybe your project managers are slackers. You don't know. And then what we have here is we have 4 different tabs for you. So we have a project analysis tab. Now this is a fun tab, right? Of course, there's charts down here. But what we do on the project analysis tab is we give you the current spend, the open POs, the committed spend against the estimated spend. Or I'll just flip it around, and I'll give you the billed revenue and the current gross margin against the estimated revenue and the estimated gross margin, right? And this is all by item. And notice these, you could drill down into this if you want. So, yeah, this is all by item. So if I click here, I'm going to go into the site work item structure, right? And this is very cool stuff because you can come up here and you could say, you know what? I want to go look at kitchen remodels by Albert Cruz. Boom, right? And then I want to look at the expenditures. And what you'll see here is project expenditures versus estimates by month. Now, there's no estimates, but what you would see is a May actual project spend and then an estimated right next to it. So if we come back here, I think I put it under Heather. I think that's where I put it because I put one estimate. I forget where I put it. One of these has an estimate. You'll see it pop up. But you'll notice these are all, you can look at these by item as well. And then down here, you have committed spend by vendor. And if you have an estimate, it'll be right below it. And on the estimate, you can estimate by vendor. So you can look at what you spent by vendor versus what you thought you'd spend by vendor. It's very cool stuff. Cool. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And here's open POs by due date. Now, this right here is probably something you'll never see in any reporting package. Because if you come out here and you look at project purchase orders, what we have for you here is a PO aging, right? Here's aging by vendor and aging by job. Anything over 90 days is, in my book, a no-no. They got to explain it. I want to close that PO, right? And these are, of course, linked too. So if I click on Brenda's framing service, boom, I get open PO by item and open PO by due date, right? If I look at total.
Vendor POs or the customer POs? When you say per purchase orders, is this purchase orders out?
This is vendor purchase orders.
Vendor purchase orders, okay.
Yeah, this is expenditure.
We owe this.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to do the same thing for sales orders. I just haven't gotten to it quite yet.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And of course, we'll just put it out there for you so you can play with it.
Right.
Now, the other thing we did was we gave you a little project comparison. And this is a lot of fun. This was somebody's suggestion, and I looked at it, and I thought, wow, that's a really good idea. So what we did was we said, look, I want to be able to compare projects. So these are projects, individual projects, right? And what happens is it just drops them right in, and I can look at spend with open purchase orders, committed spend versus estimated across the projects this way, right? And it's quite handy if you want to look and say, you know, where is the red? Because remember, up here, I can always just come and say I want to filter by status, and I only want to see on-target stuff. And all of a sudden, all you see here is nothing because there's nothing in these first few rows that are on target. But if you have stuff in there, there's nothing to it. It just shows right up. And the other thing you can do is click here and look at project revenue. Same thing. You can say, okay, I want to look at revenue, and here's billed revenue estimated and gross margin across these same projects. Right?
Okay, that's cool.
It's very easy, simple. It's by item, right? So you can just roll up the items here, right? And you can, remember, you can modify this. So you could take this right here, I'll show you how, and put it right above the all here. So what happens is that you see Albert Cruz, and then you could look at the items and blow it out, and it would just be these across, right?
Okay.
Very easy to do, right? Now, a couple other things we're going to drop out there for you. We have a cash management thing. I think this is a lot of fun, too, because I'm a nerd. But the cash management thing is here's a cash flow statement. Now, keep in mind, we're looking at it by these customers right here, which is pretty wild. I'm going to go clear these customers, right? Because remember, these are going to flow across. I'm going to set it to all. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a cash flow statement right here. Bam, current balance, right? And then monthly and quarterly and yearly activity, and then comparisons. And then here's the activity, right? Bad, good, right? And here's the balance. So this is like a simple way to help clients understand cash. Here's how much money you have right here. Right? You know what? I want to go look at cash flow from operations. Now I'm looking at cash flow from operations. Never mind the financing and investing activities. This is what I think my cash balance should really be. In my opinion, I'm more interested in cash flow from operations. I'm always interested in this stuff, but this is kind of ancillary. If I'm not generating enough cash from operations, this isn't going to do squat, right? Now, sometimes you have startup or whatever, it's a little different. And, of course, you could drill into this, right? If I click, right, boom, right? Now I'm looking at it by item or by account, right? Again, just kind of fun stuff. Now, this cash management does monthly and weekly. This weekly takes a little work. I'm going to tell you, I'm still sort of working on this because there's a couple of bugs in it. But you can look at it. It's accurate. It's just got a weird date thing that you'll see when you play with it. Now, a couple other things, AR and AP, right? We're going to give you AR and AP. Here's an AR dashboard. You just hand your clients. AR by customer and then aging, that's visual, right? Day sales outstanding. We just threw it down there. You could delete it and say, I just want them to look at this. And then here we actually have a hardcore full-on aging, right? So here's a full-on aging. And then this, of course, is interactive. So if I click on this, if there were payments, we'd see them. If there's invoices outstanding, we'll see them here, right? And then in AR details, what we did was we split this out between payments received, cash coming in, right, and open invoices by due date, and then when we expect to see stuff. So this is projected monthly receipts. Remember, there's only 2 invoices here, so they're due in December, right? If not, this would be spread out by month. And here it is by weeks. So if you're curious when your cash flow is due or what's going on, you know, we're looking in the end of December 2013, week 49, we expected to see 13.5, and what is this? The other part of the 13.5, right? This is designed to give AR and AP works the same way. Now, what's coming is we're going to merge them so you could forecast, right? So you could take AR, overlay it with AP in the current cash balance and see what's going to happen.
All right. Yes.
Right. And then we're going to give you the ability to drop in individual events like payroll or a debt repayment and see what happens. So very cool stuff. It's coming.
Yeah.
That piece I still have to develop, just like I have to develop the sales stuff. Now, one more thing I want to show you. We're going to put this out there for you, too. There's a little configuration for this. This is the estimate and the requisition model. I'll start with the estimates because it's a little simpler. This is a very simple thing you can give your clients, right? I built this one estimate right here. And what an estimate does is it's by customer, right? So it's by job, basically. But notice, you can estimate by vendor, right? You can estimate by account or item. This is not possible in QuickBooks. So these are stored separately for right now because we have to figure out what to do with this stuff if you import it to QuickBooks. It's not hard. We just got to deal with it. But you can, so this, usually I do G&A stuff here, right? So I probably won't bill for it, but I'll have G&A. But I might have an item that says G&A that just has revenue and no cost. So instead of, you know, you could start to sort of to separate the cost from the revenue, which is a big deal. QuickBooks doesn't allow it. I can also key in quantity, cost, and revenue separately. So if I give a special deal, if I get a special deal, I can put it in here. I have a service date, right? This tells me when I expect it to be done. Now, I've set them the same here, but the transaction date and the service date allow you to say, okay, for transaction date, I want to track when I expect the invoice. For the service date, I want to track when I expect the work to be done.
Okay.
So you could build a little mini project plan, right? Kind of nice. And this just drops right in. So you put this in, right? We create an estimate, and it's just going to drop right in, and project management is just going to show up.
Okay.
Now, requisitions. This is probably, we developed this just for one client, and I thought this was so intriguing. This is a simple PO module, right? It's an automated purchasing module. So you can add a requisition here, right? I could say I need a purchase order, and I want to add it for these items. Now, this is only restricted to items because QuickBooks only allows items on POs, right?
Yep.
Now, notice I have 3 items here. I can duplicate this item right here and put it to a different customer. Very cool, right? So if I've got somebody, right, no problem. QuickBooks will support that. We can put the quantity, the rate here. This requisition number is whatever you want it to be. I don't care because it's not the PO number. We'll get to that, right? You can assign it to the class, whatever. When you assign this, assign automatically. This is the coolest part. You configure workflow for these. So you could say, I want these POs to go to this person for authorization, right? And there's dollar amounts and teams. So you could set people up as teams, and it's multi-level. So you could say, hey, I need purchase orders from this guy. It's got to go through 3 levels, right? And then there's ways to configure it so it notifies all 3 approvers or just 1, right, depending on how you want to configure it. And then when it starts to flow through, it'll become approved. Now, upon approval, the person who keyed in the original requisition will get an email that looks just like a purchase order with a 13-digit random number. So there's no guessing the next PO number. And then when you update QuickBooks, it will automatically put the purchase order into QuickBooks. Right? So you've just moved purchasing, which is probably your biggest pain, out to your client without them ever touching QuickBooks. Now I'm going to do my Billy Mays thing, but wait, there's more. The client can also go out and do item receivers. So they can go out and say, hey, I had this PO, and I need to receive against it, right? And then you can do the 3-way match. If they don't do the receiver, you don't pay the invoice. The work's not considered, right? And so this, coupled with the PO aging, gives you a complete purchase order management system because they can just close the PO straight from the item receiver without receiving anything. So they have total control over what POs are outstanding. Anybody can close a PO who's authorized. Only the person who requested can receive against it, right? And if they close the PO, it just disappears from everything. It just flows through to QuickBooks. So it manually shows as manually closed in QuickBooks. So this actually is a lot of fun if you have clients who are construction companies or manufacturing or whatever use purchase orders. They probably hate QuickBooks because it's difficult to do. And this is, for what you're doing, we're just going to throw this into that, right? You set it, you turn up the client, there you go. Right?
Okay. I'm thinking of you as this would be nice for one of my other clients, okay?
Right. Well, and as we go through and we configure it, there's a configuration tab here. That's what this does. So you'll see how you can, it's kind of interesting what you can configure. You can configure the items for estimates or purchase orders, right? So if I say I want to search for estimates, right, that you'll see that everything's selectable. But if I start unchecking boxes.
Hi, it's Pam.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, Pam. Hi, Pam.
Hi, guys.
So if
Sorry
I start
for jumping
unchecking
in so late.
That's okay. And if need be, we'll go over everything with you tomorrow. Again.
Okay, well, I'm just thrilled that you're recording everything so that I can do my review tonight.
Okay, that's true. I didn't realize I kept recording that. Am I on somebody's speaker?
You are on mine, so let's see. Let me take that off. There we go.
So,
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So here's the item configuration by estimate or purchase order. So you can actually have items that they can't requisition against. Very, very comfortable, right? You don't like them just requisitioning against. Like if you have a catch-all item you use, you don't want them to use in a PO, because when you put a catch-all out there, that's what they're going to use, right? Then you can just ignore it, right? Like customer advance, why would you ever let that? Here's the workflow configuration. I don't have a team configured right now. We can, right? I just haven't done this yet. I haven't had a chance. But when you configure the team,
you can guide the user through steps. Is that what this workflow configurations is?
It's what this does is this routes the requisition through the appropriate approval chain.
Ah, okay, I see. Okay.
Right. So let's say that any PO under $10,000 only requires your manager approval. You would build a team around that manager, right? There might be 6 or 7 people that roll up to that manager, right? And then if over 10 and under 20 requires a second level, you would just configure that. So if a PO comes through for 5, requisitioner puts it in, it goes to the manager, it gets approved, it's done, right? Gets created, gets imported into QuickBooks. Original requester can go out and receive against it, right? And purchasing is completely out of your hands. It's completely within your client's hands. So if they don't ever need to touch QuickBooks to create anything. You never need to stop anything to create a PO. If they call you up and say, I got to have a PO right now, you say, wow, it sounds like a problem. You better call the guy who needs to approve it, or the girl, right? Not your fault. So the other thing it will do is you can set it up so that certain POs, if they're big enough, go all the way up, right? All the way to the owner. Or the owner may want to review every one of them, and then you just send them all to the owner, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens is when it gets through this workflow, it's going to kick out an email. And Kev probably still has one floating around. He may. That will give you, it looks just like a purchase order. I would tell you, you can actually send that to the vendor and say, here's your PO. You don't even have to print it, right? He's got the PO number. He's got the official email. He's good.
And show it to them on a smartphone.
Right. So you got somebody in the field. They can actually do the requisition, call their boss, get the PO, and get the email. Boom. You guys aren't in the middle of it. So if you're at a kid's soccer game, if you're in the middle of something, and they call you up and say, God, I got to have this PO. Could you print it? You don't have to do that anymore. Now, you may not run into that a lot, but some of the more complicated clients, you'll start to see purchase orders. And if they don't use them and they do a lot of big purchasing, and it's somewhat decentralized, great solution for them. Because now you put controls around purchasing, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just sort of willy-nilly, I'm going to submit an expense report with a $5,000 charge on it. Anything over $800, you need a PO. We're not paying it. So this is just one of the things that we did. The estimates is also fun. And all of these tabs you'll start to see showing up, right? And what we'll do is we will set up for you a CEO Services test account and get you those test files so you can load them up. Okay. And then what would happen is you would just have to edit the file and point it to the different one, right? Yeah. And just resync it.
That I love.
It's pretty straightforward.
That's
pretty
great.
straightforward. And, you know, if you put your own stuff out there, you can do that. It'll just work. So if you design stuff in the dashboard designer and you put it out on that test thing, it's fine.
So, Tom, here's how I'm thinking I work, and it doesn't mean that it has to be set in stone, but I understand the value in seeing what the product can do, right? But I sort of get lost because I don't have real-world applications for a lot of the functionality, or I don't think I do. Okay. So I think the best way that I have learned in the past that I work the best is for me to have real-world clients that I'm working on that we can get something up and running. And from there, I learn the product, and I learn how to do the dashboard, and I get inspired, and I'm like, oh, this is great, you know. So I'm wondering, can we, and this is just a brainstorming thing, a question, can we actually start working on piece real data and designing dashboards like Pam and building off of the ones that Pam did so that I can be inspired of something real and I can give value to the customer?
Certainly. Certainly. What I would suggest we do is set up an hour, no more than 2, because it'll take you a little while, right? And we could set them up 2-3 times a week. I'm going to give you as much time as you need.
Well, that's very great.
I have my own selfish reasons for it. Right? First of all, we appreciate our clients, but I want to understand better how to train people on this, right? Because we don't have a great training program, and we're developing one, but in a vacuum, it's like throwing a dart at a dartboard. Maybe I get it, maybe I don't. As we work through it, I'll start to say, okay, this is really important right here. We need to spend some time on this. Because I'm like Rain Man with this stuff. I don't know how to explain it. It's 240, right? I just look, and it makes sense to me. And I get it that this might not make sense to a lot of other people.
You're also brainstorming here. I can also have, let's get you, I'm going to use my position a little bit here, but I am the co-founder of 2 chapters of QuickBooks User Group. And so when I start learning this more, let's get you to present at one of or both of those user groups.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we always like to talk to people. We're very, very interested in spending time with people to understand what they see when they look at our product. Because when I look at it, I don't necessarily see what you see. So we would love the chance. And depending on when it is and where, we may be in the area, maybe it'll be in person, maybe it'll just be remote. We'll just have to see.
Yeah.
But we do tend to travel a little bit right now. So are you going to Scaling New Heights this year?
I'm choosing not to this year because of my budget.
Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping you guys would. We got a lot of stuff planned this year. We're going to have a lot of fun there. Are you going to go to Sleater?
Solutions.
And my friend is, I think I'm actually going to fly out to Chicago for my friend's 80th birthday.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, have fun there. It's going to be a little cold, actually. I've been there a lot lately.
I have lots of fun.
Oh, it's cold right now.
Now, Sam will be going to
Only for now, not by June.
Let's hope so. I've been there for...
Scaling New Heights, I might go to Sleater.
If you're there, we'll have a bunch of stuff there, too. We appreciate people who take the time to look at our product and work with it. We understand there's a commitment there. And so at Scaling New Heights right now, we have a hospitality suite in the works where we took out the biggest suite in the hotel, the private suite, right? It's a room that it'll fit about 50 to 60 people. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a bar and just little customer appreciation things every night, right? So you could show up because there's nothing to do at that hotel. And I was like, what are we going to do here? So we're going to set up a bar, maybe a beer pong table on the dining room table or something, and we'll figure out some ways for people to keep themselves entertained. And that's just one of the things we have planned. So sorry you'll miss it, but if you come to Solutions, we'll have something similar. We're still working through what we're going to do there.
Yeah, I'm going to is that the Intuit conference that they're doing in San Jose? Are you going to that?
That's the Intuit conference. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we haven't signed up for that yet because they haven't contacted us.
Okay.
Intuit for you. Yeah, I don't know that they're going to let exhibitors show up. I think we'd have to just show up as attendees.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know. Well, we may be there, even if we're attendees, because it's always fun to go to San Jose.
Right.
I ate breakfast once there in your Four Seasons downtown.
Oh, yeah, wonderful.
Right? Yeah. Well, I ate breakfast next to Dick Gephardt, if you remember him, on one side, and I think the other side was Larry Ellison.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
I know. I think that's who it was. I was trying to guess. It was pretty wild. Sitting next to Dick Gephardt and listening to two Silicon Valley guys who made millions complain about their tax bill was pretty funny.
Yeah, billions. Yeah.
Yeah, they made a lot of money. A lot of money. But so I'll tell you what works for you where we can block out about 2 hours.
Okay, good. That'd be awesome. And Pam loves to join us as well, so let's see if we can get all of us together. And we'll work
absolutely.
We'll work on make sure that I'm connected to Pete's dashboard and then start working on his reports. He's got a mandate after me. He says, where am I spending my money? So I got to tell him where he's spending his money.
Kind of on a mission to find that out, huh?
What? We will. Okay. I promise you by the time.
Pete's on a mission to understand his expenses, so he's drilling down on everything.
Well, we're going to make sure that he can do that. We'll work through it. And we're going to take some things and tweak them, and I'm going to show you some stuff. We're going to get into the dashboard designer right away.
I do have a question, one major question before we get to the schedule. Let me pull up my calendar and do one thing at a time. We'll get to that question. So the next available time I have is Thursday the 22nd.
Okay.
Is the only day I have open. Monday, Memorial Day, I'm going to work on Memorial Day. And then I have Wednesday, the 28th open.
Wednesday, the 28th. Let's do Wednesday, the 28th.
I won't be available until the week after, the week of Memorial Day week. That's my only 3 week. Next week I'm slammed already.
Let's do Wednesday, the 28th then.
So the Wednesday, the 28th, Pam, it sounds like you might be available because that's after Memorial Day.
I could probably do Wednesday the 28th. I know that I have a 12:30 appointment in Berkeley that day, so either I'd have to have it first thing in the morning or in the afternoon after tea.
What works better for you?
Yeah, what's better for you, Pam?
Okay.
What's better for you?
The afternoon is better, although
Okay.
we hope a situation like that happen today.
3 o'clock?
Why don't we plan for 2 o'clock Pacific, like 2 to 4?
Okay.
Right.
Good.
And then I'll send out an invite, and I'll set up a go-to-meeting. And what we'll do is we'll all connect, and I'll make one of you presenter, and one of you guys will drive for a little while,
Okay,
right?
Cool.
And then
Okay.
you'll shut it down, and then you'll shut it down, and the other one will start driving, and you'll be able to open up and connect to the same thing you just saw him or her working on, right, Pam?
Cool.
So if you're driving first, then you'll be able to shut down, and you'll be able to pick it up and look at it, right?
Good.
You'll see how easy and interactive this is.
Right.
And I'm probably going to let Pam take the lead because she has more experience in Essential CFO, and I want her to be driving the show for Pete. Like she's supposed to.
It's been a wonderful learning curve, but I understand the program now, and it is fabulous.
She's done a really good job of getting in there and really moving things around.
Well, and she's been having fun. She's been having fun on the one side on the website. Wait till you get into the dashboard design and really take it and start messing
It's
around.
going to be more fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. So I'll set something up for Wednesday the 28th. Did you have other questions?
Oh yeah, the other question. The other question is because there's a real disconnect between the real world and then the financials. Because most customers don't understand financials, so they want it regurgitated to things that make sense to them. So I'm doing a lot of mapping and rolling up. And so I'm saying take these 5 accounts and roll them up and rename it this. And because Pete knows it as this, he doesn't know those 5 other accounts. It confuses him. Can Essential CFO do that?
Absolutely. I'll show you how.
Oh, thank God.
I'll show you how. And
Cool.
when you do this, keep in mind that this is all your stuff, right? So when you do this for Pete, there's 2 things to keep in mind. Number 1, you can move it, right? You can move this stuff. Site to site, I'll show you.
It's portable to other customers.
Right. And number 2, if Pete says, hey, I'm done with you, I hate you,
Oh, yeah.
he can't take it with him.
Good.
Right. Yeah, it's your own intellectual property, right? So if Pete comes to us, you're paying the bill, you just shut it off, he gets nothing. Now, of course, we'll give you the ability to back it up yourself, so he can come to you. You could actually sell it to him if he's leaving. He'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll give it to you. It's $5,000 or $10,000. You don't want to pay it, you don't get it, right?
Yeah,
so, but I think this will probably take us 2 to 3 sessions to get you to the point where you're really comfortable doing everything. Because there is some, what you just described, taking 5 accounts and calling them one thing to show to Pete.
Yeah.
That's a little cumbersome. So it's not hard, it's just tedious. And we got a lot of steps to walk through. And the first time you do it, you'll be like, great, I got it. And you'll sit down, you may be like, what did I do?
What did I do?
Right. So we'll walk through it a couple times, and then all of a sudden, you guys will just you could be rock stars. You'll be out there just turning stuff out, and you'll see that there's a lot. You haven't even scratched the surface, Pam. There's a lot more. So what I'll do though is Pam, and I'm gonna on your site, Pam. I'm gonna go ahead and deploy a bunch of those dashboards. If you were looking at my screen and you saw this, and I don't know if you could see it.
She can't. She's not in the car.
Okay. What you'll just call me. I'm going to put them out there, and I'll tell you how to get to them, right?
Okay,
and when
that sounds great.
When you look at them, you're going to see what we did was we custom designed some dashboards that we can use either as a beginning template, or you can just say, you know what, I don't even like that, and we'll start over again on the 28th. So it'll take me a day or 2 to do that.
Great.
Right.
Yeah,
it'll take me a
that
day.
sounds great.
So, well, did we answer all your questions?
Yeah, so far this is exciting. This is very wonderful, actually.
I'm a happy camper.
Well, excellent, and that's what we want to hear.
Inspired. I like this.
So, well, and that's why we're here, right? I'm a nerd. This stuff makes me interested. I always get sort of excited when I see stuff working, right? It's I don't know that people could fully appreciate how complicated the back end of QuickBooks is. So when I see things just like the balance sheet tying out, right? When you see the income statement and everything making sense, yeah, that's not by mistake. That doesn't happen by happenstance. There was it was fairly complicated, right? So I get really excited about this, and Kev has to tell me to calm down and take medication. And that's
yeah, you just love your craft. You love what you do. It's always good.
Well, we're at Scaling New Heights this year. We're presenting on internal controls and fraud, and we're going to walk through the WorldCom fraud in the fraud class, because I was actually there. I built the system they committed the fraud in, right? I got the phone call. I got the Miranda rights. I got you name it, right? Because they were hunting for blood. And, you know, I didn't get charged, and it wasn't anything, but I had to go get the attorney. It was no fun. And so this year we're going to be talking a lot about that. And a lot of this, you'll see me, as I'm going through this, you'll see me starting to sort of point to some of the internal controls and the things like Pete wants to see expenses, right? We want to be able to give him his expenses by whatever is meaningful, vendor, class.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And rolled out.
Very easily, right, very easily done. So that's good. I don't want to take any more of your time, and I sure would appreciate it. I'll send out the go-to-meeting, or Kev will, for the 28th at 2 o'clock Pacific in the afternoon, and we'll touch base then again there. Now, you guys know how to get a hold of me, right, Pam?
Oh, I definitely know how to find you.
All right, so if you need anything, you call me, okay?
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you, both of you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys have a great afternoon.
All right. Bye. Bye-bye.